he gonna get caught. He'll pop out on you. He get there too quick.
That is, if I'm not mistaken, a 92-pound weight difference. Almost a 100-pound weight difference. It's insane. Let's say he comes in at 200 pounds. It's still a 65-pound weight advantage, which is absolutely ridiculous. How can you be out there claiming to want to fight the best people on the planet?
Several respected boxing analysts have urged caution over the idea of Jake Paul stepping into the ring with Gervonta "Tank" Davis. Recent training footage highlighted Davis's blistering speed and crushing power, raising concerns about the safety and credibility of such a matchup given the size difference. Experts stress that Paul cannot afford to view Davis as simply another crossover opponent, but must respect him as a proven, explosive fighter. Critics point out that the footage not only shows Davis's quickness and agility, but also his technical precision and ability to cut off the ring, qualities that could spell real trouble if Paul underestimates him.
Quite surprised because it sounded like Jake Paul and Joshua was getting closer and closer for January. However, there have been rumours of Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul in the past. I think with Gervonta Davis's kind of legal problems in the last month or so and rumours about his retirement, I don't think it's a massive shock that he is taking this Jake Paul fight if it is going to go ahead, purely for the reason that it's a lot of money for maybe not the most difficult job that he's going to have in his career. So it's a strange one, but yeah, it's just another kind of day in the sport, really, isn't it?
Promoter Eddie Hearn has delivered a blunt warning to Jake Paul about the dangers of taking on Gervonta Davis. He cautioned that Paul could face serious, possibly career-threatening, consequences if the fight goes ahead. Hearn labeled the matchup a clear mismatch, voicing concerns for Paul's safety despite the enormous commercial interest it would generate. While he gave the fight a 50-50th chance of actually happening, his message was unmistakable. For Paul, the risk goes far beyond his win or loss record. In Hearn's eyes, it's his health and well-being that could be on the line.
I think it's extremely dangerous for Jake Paul. You know, I've got the general feedback is the boxing world saying, please AJ, go in and evaporate this young man from the boxing world so he can all get on as normal. You've got Jake Paul fans thinking bizarrely they can beat Anthony Joshua. And the most bizarre thing out of everything is that Jake Paul genuinely believes he will beat Anthony Joshua. I think that's the only reason we're going to see this fight, but I truly believe you're going to see it at the beginning of 2020.
Daniel Cormier offered a balanced but pointed take on Jake Paul's decision to fight Gervonta Davis. He gave Paul credit for how far he's come in the sport, acknowledging his ability to draw attention and land major deals, including recurring partnerships with Netflix. Still, Cormier couldn't overlook the size disparity. While he recognized Davis as the more skilled boxer, he stressed that the weight difference is huge. Davis last fought at around 134 pounds, whereas Paul competes close to 200 pounds. According to Cormier, the matchup is risky for both men. A loss for Paul could stall the momentum he has built, while for Davis, defeat against a much larger opponent could be damaging to his reputation.
When the Disruptor Challenge is a legend, guys, anything can happen. When a kid that was on YouTube and on Disney walked in there and said, I'm going to be a professional boxer, Jake Paul needs to be commended for that. He had a vision, and he honestly executed that vision better than anyone ever could have expected. But sometimes you want something so badly that you don't recognize the dangers that come with wanting that thing and then getting that thing. Now Jake Paul has gotten himself to a point where he's fighting someone that could truly, truly end his career. Mike Tyson. We're talking about one of the scariest, most dangerous fighters to ever step foot in the squared circle. For me, it's pretty simple. Jake Paul, in the Mike Perry fight, he got a great appetizer for what he will get in the main event. A fighter that starts very fast, that throws things to take your head off, and you have to kind of match the intensity to ultimately get your shots off.
Jake Paul today announced that he has signed with the PFL.
The PFL.
A couple weeks ago, Jake Paul and I were messaging each other about an appearance on my show, DC and RC. Just kind of talking about his future. And honestly, Jake and I have had some run-ins. When I started talking to him and I'm messaging him, he's a kid that's very respectful. And we had respectful conversations. He has an idea what he wants to do. Now, these kids today are different, right? So he's very boisterous, he's very verbal, he speaks big. But will Jake Paul actually fight in the PFL? A lot of boxers say they're going to fight, but they never actually do. Here's the thing about Jake Paul, though. He's from Ohio. Ohio has some of the best high school wrestling. Jake Paul was a high school wrestler. So was his brother, Logan. They weren't bad. I believe this one, he'll actually fight.
Former super middleweight title holder Carl Froch voiced strong concerns over the safety implications of the planned Paul versus Davis matchup, pointing to a weight difference of roughly 65 pounds. Paul generally steps into the ring at close to 200 pounds, while Davis usually fights at 135. Although Froch acknowledged Davis' superior technique, he cautioned that Paul's size and unorthodox power could create real danger, as Davis has never faced that kind of physical disparity. His warning echoes broader criticism in the boxing community, where many view the fight less as a genuine sporting contest and more as a spectacle that raises questions about fairness and fighter welfare.
My name was mentioned at his press conference and he shit himself, and the fight was just absolutely fucking diabolical. Again, I've said before, he's not a professional boxer, he never will be, and he proves time and time again that he's not a professional fighter. So, Jake Paul, go on, piss off.
I don't really take Jake Paul that serious. He can't really box. He can have a little fight, he can have a swing. He swings away, stands up straight, and he throws punches, but it's not professional boxing. Because when I watch him box, he does so much wrong. It's just everything's wrong. It's so bad. He's got leaky defence. He telegraphs his punches. Like, you put him in with someone his own size, it was a professional. It's a mismatch, and you'll see that if he ends up fighting somebody. Tommy Fury, bless him, he's a pro boxer, but he's inexperienced. He's got no amateur pedigree. He's a raw novice, or maybe just above the raw novice. I was saying earlier, where would I put him in terms of levels? He'd do well to win a British title. He's at that sort of level, and then from British title to world level, it's like different worlds, like totally different. It's like a different sport.
Just here at Los Naranjos in Viva, España, and I found out that Gervonta Davis is now fighting Jake Paul. So Jake Paul was supposed to be fighting AJ. Eddie Hearn announced 99% done, which we've just spoke about. What next for AJ? Potentially Jake Paul. But it now looks like that Jake Paul is fighting one of Anthony Joshua's legs. He's fighting Gervonta Davis, somebody who's a quarter of his size. I don't even know what's going on. Has Eddie Hearn been played? Let me know what you think. But the AJ fight with Jake Paul's finished. Gervonta Davis, fake Paul, November. I don't know what's going on in the world of boxing. This is an absolute joke. What next for AJ? We'll get into this, and there's so many questions I want to get into in the next episode, but I hope you enjoyed this one. And yeah, I just thought I'd give you a quick update because the news has just come in, and I'm just trying to relax and play a bit of golf, and I can't. I've got to get it off my chest. I'm going to add it to this video. Hope you enjoy it. Don't forget, if you haven't already, hit like, share, and subscribe to the best channel in the business, Froch on Fighting, and we'll see you very soon.
Ryan Garcia didn't hold back when sharing his thoughts on the proposed fight, blasting it as absurd and questioning whether it should even be taken seriously. He argued that matchups like this are dragging boxing away from its traditional roots, comparing the sport's current direction to scripted entertainment like pro wrestling. Garcia warned that these kinds of spectacles undermine the credibility of boxing, making it difficult for fans to view it as a legitimate competition. In his view, the sport has crossed the line and now looks more like WWE than true boxing.
Today we're going to talk about the boxing world and another fight that Jake Paul just booked for his joke of a career against a 65-plus smaller guy than him in Gervonta Davis. Jake Paul is a circus sideshow for low IQ incels. Nobody should be falling for this carny bullshit about him being a real fighter. Gervonta is a million times better than him, so he has to handicap Gervonta's skill by being a giant lab rat with a 65-plus weight advantage over him. This is a joke. This is a mockery to the sport of fighting. You know, the best are supposed to fight the best. Why is he fighting a guy that's, you know, in his last fight, Mike Tyson, who, you know, he's got a 40-year age gap between them? You know, why are you fighting a guy that should be in line for, you know, the early bird special, not fighting in a boxing ring and Mike Tyson? Now you're fighting a guy who is, you know, tiny. He's a 130-pound fighter. You fight in the 210, 220 weight range. So, this is another joke in Jake Paul's career. He claims to want to be a real fighter, but he's not taking the real steps to be real fighters and fighting top 10 guys and fighting the best guys in the world. He fights these circus sideshows against guys that have no business being in there against him. So I guess this is the state of boxing. It's dead. UFC took over, and this is what you get now. You get this YouTuber who is on Lizzie McGuire, and he wants to claim to be a real fighter, but he doesn't want to fight real fighters. So I think it's ironic, though. Why would he hire a lawyer to sue people that say that his fights are fixed if they weren't, allegedly? So I don't know. It's kind of weird. You guys do the math. Let me know what you think in the comments below.
Amir Khan has come out strongly against the planned Paul versus Davis exhibition, describing it as disgraceful and dangerous. He highlighted the massive physical imbalance, Paul weighing close to 200 pounds against Davis's 135, along with an 8-inch height gap, as proof that the matchup is far from fair and unlikely to pass official sanctioning. Khan argued that putting on such events not only puts fighters at risk of serious injury, but also chips away at boxing's reputation as a legitimate sport. He went on to commend promoter Turki Alshik for refusing to support what he sees as YouTube-style circus fights.
Well, he was obviously a lot heavier than him, but in an exhibition fight. What are your thoughts on this fight?
A really bad mismatch, and you know what? Whoever the promoter is and that's agreed with Gervonta to fight, and whoever the promoter is to fight for Jake Paul to say fight this little man. I mean, that's wrong, man. I mean, that's just like torturing someone. I mean, going in there and hurting someone is just not fair on Davis. But like I say, you don't know what position Davis is in. I heard that he's been having a lot of legal problems and been arrested a couple of times for a couple of felonies and stuff I've seen with his ex-wife and stuff. You know what? You don't know what's going through his head. Maybe he just wants to cash up and walk away from the sport. And maybe this is a great opportunity for him where he's seen this fight come up and he's like, fuck it, I'll take it. But yeah, I mean, I think they're making boxing a joke, really. Yeah. One day someone's going to end up getting hurt so badly, then it's going to definitely destroy the sport.
Michael Bisping came down hard on Jake Paul, labeling him a bully for chasing fights with significantly smaller opponents. He highlighted the physical gap Paul enjoys over fighters such as Canelo Alvarez, roughly 60 pounds in weight and 7 inches in height, as evidence of the mismatch. Bisping criticized Paul's choice of opposition, arguing that he deliberately seeks out undersized or less experienced fighters to stack the odds in his favor, calling the approach shameful. He questioned Paul's credibility as a legitimate boxer, saying that his career relies more on spectacle and size advantages than true skill. To Bisping, presenting that strategy as authentic boxing is nothing more than bullying under the guise of competition.
How can you be out there claiming to want to fight the best people on the planet and then going out there and taking on a guy that is maybe 92 pounds heavier, that is at least 65 pounds heavier than you? That is called one thing. That's called being a bully. It's like, dude, what are you doing? If you want respect from your peers, if you want everyone on the planet to look at you and take you seriously and give you credit as a boxer, you have to go up against someone that keeps you up at night, against someone that gets you out of bed in the morning to go for a run because the fear of them beating you down is real.
Michael Bisping has repeatedly called out Jake Paul for stacking the deck with opponents who are either smaller or lacking in high-level skill, arguing that this gives Paul built-in advantages. He's dismissed several of Paul's fights as little more than spectacles, pointing to the gaps in weight and experience that make them feel unbalanced. At one point, Bisping even said Paul functions more like a businessman than a true fighter, suggesting that his career is driven more by marketing hype than by genuine competition. In Bisping's view, Paul prefers facing aging names or past their prime athletes rather than taking on matches that would truly test his boxing ability. KSI has also voiced his disapproval, especially regarding Paul's planned fight with Gervonta Davis, which he blasted as an insult to the sport. He accused Paul of dodging a matchup with him and instead chasing easier opponents. KSI's comments highlight his ongoing frustration with Paul's choices in the ring and his push for a legitimate showdown between the two.
Gervonta not filling the rematch clause and just fighting Jake Paul and that whole situation and the reaction of the fight itself.
I feel people people got issues because it's 200 million mandatory or either go fight for 5 million. It's a no-brainer. Like, what's wrong? What's a no-brainer?
A hard fight.
And we prize fighters. They prize fighters. The prize is big, and he's gonna retire soon. So you got $200 million right here, and you're about to retire soon, or either a $5 million.
Wait a minute. Kid said he disagreed. Why did he disagree?
I think it's just from a fighter standpoint. And on top of that, he got to draw. It's not like you won. Like you won and you gonna go fight Jake Paul. You got to draw, man. You got to go get that bag.
Why? It was a cherry pick.
I mean, yeah, it was a cherry pick, and you looked, and you didn't
So
look
hold
good.
on.
So you got to.
I mean, look, with Jake, the guy's been ducking me or running away from me for so long, man. Like, he's just making excuse after excuse, and now he wants to fight Tank. I mean, it just says the type of guy Jake Paul is. He only fights someone if he has a major advantage. Anything that's close, or anything that could actually be a decent fight, he runs away from it. So,
Dave Allen, the British heavyweight better known as the White Rhino, didn't hold back in his criticism of the planned Paul versus Davis exhibition. He dismissed it as a farce and a misuse of Davis's prime years, arguing that exhibition fights should be reserved for veterans who have already left their peak behind. In Allen's view, Davis, widely regarded as one of the top pound-for-pound lightweights, should be chasing meaningful challenges like a rematch with Lamont Roach, while Paul ought to prove himself against a legitimate cruiserweight instead of leaning on spectacle matchups. Allen accused both fighters of being motivated purely by money rather than genuine competition, bluntly adding that he has no interest in watching what he considers a circus.
But he's never been punched by a rhinoceros, has he yet? So we'll have to see.
He's training this fight, but fighting against real bears. This is true. People are going, no chance. Do you reckon this guy, could he be the toughest of your opponents so far, do you reckon?
I don't think he's the best that I've faced. I've faced a few Olympic medalists, a few world title challengers, but I think he's probably the most dangerous. Maybe not the best boxer, he might not be the most technical, but he hits really hard, he's really big and strong, so yeah, I think it's the most dangerous task I've faced, but he may be not the best fighter I've been in with.
Whereabouts is the fight, Dave? Where are you fighting him?
He's still at Sheffield Arena,
right?
Headlining in Sheffield, which is like my local arena. So yeah, it's a big night for me.
He won his last fight, didn't he, Dave, against Ricardo Brown, and 20 wins, 19 KOs he's got. So like you says, he is dangerous. How's the training gone for you ahead of this fight?
Yeah, it's been good. He's put a bit of fear in me, to be honest. I have had a bit of genuine fear. I've been stopped, but I've never been on the canvas ever as a pro or amateur. And I'd like to keep it that way, really. Yeah. I'm not on anyone's highlight reel. You see highlight reels of all the fighters I face. I'm not on any of them, and I'd like to keep it that way. So yeah, training has gone up a notch. For the Fisher rematch, I did weigh a little bit heavy. So for this one, if I cut any corners, good chance I'll get beat.
Some observers have branded Gervonta Davis's choice to fight a much larger social media star as one of the most blatant dodges in boxing history. Rather than resolving rivalries within his own division, critics argue Davis has taken the easier, more profitable route by stepping into a spectacle instead of a true sporting contest. To them, the move looks less like chasing greatness and more like retreating from risk in exchange for a payday and mainstream exposure. In a sport where legacy is supposed to outweigh financial gain, many see this as the ultimate money grab, prioritizing glamour over grit. The lopsided size difference, combined with the flashy promotion, makes the event resemble entertainment more than authentic competition. Detractors warn that not only does this cheapen boxing's image, but it also puts fighters at unnecessary risk, underlining how far the sport may have drifted from its traditional values.
Like the internet, where we give it to you straight, no chaser. In sports, Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul have a fight coming up. I ain't even gonna call it a fight, because it ain't. If Jake Paul's involved in it, it's a great acting job. You know Mike Tyson could have just knocked Jake Paul's face into the canvas, but he got paid to pull punches, otherwise he wouldn't have got paid. I'm pretty sure the same is going for Gervonta Davis. It's a quick money grab. Yeah, most of y'all gonna be suckers who tune in. It's just a quick money grab. That's all I'm saying. Ain't gonna be no fight. I don't give a fuck how big Jake Paul is. He can't take one of them little mother tank punches. Yeah, tank move furniture. Move furniture. Catch that motherfucking move furniture. And Jake don't like his furniture moved, so he gonna pay him not to hit him again. If you really want to show out Gervonta, sign a contract that you ain't gonna hit him, because if you hit him, you lose all the money. And then whoop that motherfucker's ass, put him to sleep, and get him out the boxing game once and for all.
A growing number of critics argue that boxing is losing its identity, drifting away from the traditions of fair competition and pure skill. They contend that the rise of celebrity-driven bouts, uneven matchups, and spectacle-focused events has pushed the sport further from its roots. Instead of showcasing elite fighters at the top of their craft, the spotlight is often on headline value and entertainment, leaving many to question whether boxing's legacy is being overshadowed by showmanship.
Whoa! Jake Paul is fighting Gervonta Davis. Chilaquiles, chilaquiles.
Must the energy. Must the energy. Must the energy. Must the energy.
Oh, it's musty, and I say that respectfully. Per Mike Hoppinger in the Ring magazine, Gervonta Tank Davis, freshly off his domestic violence charges being dropped, will get into the ring with Jake Paul in Atlanta with a proposed date of November 15th. Lord child. Tank weighs about 135. Jake Paul weighs about 200-something pounds. So obviously this will be at a catch weight, and this possibly will not be a sanctioned fight where it will count on anybody's records. But I'm gonna tell y'all like this: Tank fans, you niggas down bad.
The hatred. Musty energy.
You niggas is down bad.
What's your take on this fight? Do you think it's time for Jake Paul to step in with an opponent closer to his own size and experience to truly validate himself? Or are matchups like this simply the direction boxing has moved in today's era of entertainment-driven fights? Share your opinions in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts.